Hi everyone, it's Aga from EurekaCrystalBeads.com and I'm here with another fun tutorial for you. But before I get started, just a quick reminder to check out the rest of our channel. And if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button and don't forget about the notification bell to never miss any of our content. Welcome to part 2 of making this Opulence Eco necklace, made entirely with supplies from our October 2025 beads collection Opulence Eco. This is the inspiration photo for this collection and all the supplies are included in it. But if you don't have it, you're going to need the same supplies as for the color, so the side of the necklace, plus this enormous 27mm round chaton stone from Krakowski. It's foil back, it has a beautiful cut, and we're going to bezel it with some 6mm twisted bugles. I do think that it should work with regular bugles, but I'll have to test it. If you've tested it, let me know in the comments. You're gonna need exactly 18 mini duos, exactly 12 rondelle beads, some 11-ohs, and some 15-ohs, plus a tiny bit of demi-rounds. These are Toho demi-rounds in size 11. Now, if you're treating this tutorial as part 1 because you just want to make the bezel, I'm also going to show you how to make a super quick bail for it to make it into a pendant. And here is the game plan for this tutorial. First, we're going to make the perimeter of the bezel with the bugle beads. Then we're going to add on our mini duos. Then we're going to connect their second holes to close the bezel from the top. We're going to go back to the middle and take our work to the back. We're going to make this back bezel that's going to hold our stone in place. Then we're going to go back to the middle again and make this beautiful crown out of rondelle beads. I really love this little detail. You're going to see how the bezel without it looks kind of bold, kind of something's missing. But with those rondelles, it's really nice. And then if you want to connect the bezel to your necklace, you're going to want to leave the tail of your thread uncut from the spool. So you're going to want to leave it connected to the spool because later you can use this other end, the tail of your thread, to connect to the other side of the necklace. So that's just a pro tip. Alright then, let's start beading. Oh, and I'm using a size 12 needle. This is the most convenient one with a 6-pound fire line, and I wouldn't go under it. I'm going to be using the color Crystal because I don't want to darken these bugle beads because they're sort of semi-transparent. So I'm using the color Crystal, and I don't recommend going under 6 pounds. You can even use 8 if you want to keep it nice and sturdy. Alright, I'm starting with about half a wingspan of thread, maybe just a little bit more to be safe. And I'm going to start by picking up 12 sets of bugle 11-oh. Here's my full sequence. And I'm actually going to pass through all of it again to create a circle. I want to make sure that I didn't miss any of the 11-ohs by chance. And at this point, I'm going to tie a knot with my active thread over the thread connected to my spool, just so that everything is nice and tight. So I just tie 2 regular knots, just regular square knots, that's it. And I started with a bugle, so I'm going to pass through the first bugle. The knot will hide inside it, and I can start adding my super duo sequences. And I'm going to do that by picking up an 11-oh, 3 mini duos 11-oh, and I meant mini duos, of course, not super duos. And I'm going to go right back and through the bugle that my thread is coming out of. And I'm also going to pass through the next 11-oh bugle 11-oh bugle while I'm at it, because we're going to be adding those mini duos on top of every second bugle. So they are added here now. I skipped that one bugle. I went through this next one. 11-oh, 3 mini duos 11-oh. And I'm gonna go back and through the bugle that my thread is coming out of. I'm gonna go ahead and skip that next bugle, pass through the 11-0 and the next bugle, so 3 bugles. I'm passing through 3 bugles all at once. There, there's my second sequence, and you want to add 6 of those sequences in total every second bugle. So here's another one. Passing through the 3 bugles into 11-0s. Make sure to pull quite tight so that they are placed nicely together on top and not loose. That's the 4th one. 5th. And there is my number 6. Now I'm going to pass through the next 2 bugles as well to find myself in the very beginning where I started with this first sequence of 3 mini duos into 11-0s. And I'm going to pass through the 11-0 on the first mini duo here. And I'm just passing through the first one because now we're going to be stepping up through the second hole. And I don't want my thread to be visible, or I want it to be as invisible as possible. So in between the mini duos is going to be the least visible. I'm just stepping up through the free hole of that first mini duo. And we're going to connect the sequences of 3 with an 11-0, demi-round 11-0. So I just go to the next sequence and pass through the free hole of the first of the mini duos. They are already going to start to cup together. And now in between the mini duos, I'm going to add a single demi-round. So I'm connecting them. It's going to be loose at first, so you just need to pull tight every now and then. Another single demi-round connecting to the next mini duo. And now 11-0 demi-round 11-0 and connecting to the next sequence. Easy peasy. And that's going to be my last demi-round in this row. Right, as you can see, this is already half of a bezel, basically. Now it's going to be quite boring, but you need to pass through all of the beads in this row again. So all of the beads connecting the sets of 3 mini duos, then connecting the mini duos, and so on and so forth. This is to strengthen this row, and you need to do this. You cannot omit it, unfortunately. So I'm just going to go around through all of those beads again. Okay, I finished my round, and now I want to step down the second hole of a super duo. So I'm just gonna go some more beads forward until I reach that first mini duo in the next set of 3, and I'm gonna step down its other hole and through the 11-0 as well. Now I'm going to pass through the bugle that this set is connected to, if I manage to, because it's all quite tight in here. But you want to pass through this bugle and the 11-0 right next to it. Now we're going to add another row of bugles, and we're just going to do it by simply doing peyote stitch. So I'm going to pick up a single bugle. I'm going to find this next 11-0 between the bugles, and I'm going to pass through it, and I'll add my bugle here. I'll pick up the next bugle, find the next 11-0, and again, and you go all the way around. And that's my last bugle here. At this point, it looks kind of flat a little bit on the sides, but don't worry, we're going to fix it right away. So my thread is coming out of this 11-0. I'm gonna step up to the first bugle that I added, and in between each of those bugles, we're gonna add an 11-0. So basically another row of peyote stitch around. And as you pull tight this row as you go, it will tighten up and kind of get a little bit more cupped. And that's my last 11-0. So it's already more cupped. Let's try on our stone. I'm going to push it in here a little bit. That's what it's going to look like. All right, and at this point, I have enough of my thread left to attach the side of my collar later on. So I'm actually going to go up and through the next few beads to get that thread into the beads a little bit. And I'm gonna get back to my tail thread. I cut off about half a wingspan again, and I'm gonna see where it is in the bezel. So I'll just step down through the 11-0 and through the bugle. And through the next 11-0 that I just added in the previous row. And at this point, we can start adding our triangles, which is going to be super simple. I'm picking up a demi-round, 2 bugles, and a demi-round. And I simply pass through the next 11-0 from this previous row that I added. I make sure that they pull tight nice and create a little triangle. I'm going to pass through the bugle and the next 11-0 because we're adding 6 triangles, so every second 11-0. And again, demi-round, 2 bugles, demi-round, and through the next 11-0. Through the bugle and the 11-0 after it. Demi-round, 2 bugles, demi-round, through the 11-0, and so forth until you have 6 sets all around. I finished all of my sets. Here they are. I'm going to go to that first one again. And actually, we're going to do another round through all of those beads that we added. Only on top, we're going to add an 11-0. And we're doing this because you could obviously just add the 11-0 between the bugles as you go around the first time, but this is just going to be more secure. There's going to be 2 threads in each set, so it's just more secure that way. So that's what I would recommend, but you can add the 11-0s as you go for the first time. So I just pass through the beads to the next set. I go to the top of the triangle. I add an 11-0. I pass all the way down through the 11-0 at the bottom as well. And so on all the way around. Alright, here's my last 11-0 on top of a triangle. I'm going to pass through some more of the beads so that I can reach the next triangle and have my thread come out of the 11-0 on top. There. Now we want to connect the tops, bending these triangles backwards. And in the meantime, we're going to put in our stone as well. And we're going to connect these 11-0s with sequences of 2 demis, 11-0, 2 demis. I just connect to the next one. And I'm not going to pull tight yet. It's going to get loose anyway. I just connect them. I'll put my stone in and then I'll tighten it all up. Alright, now all the triangles are connected. I'm putting in my stone. I'm just making sure to put it in the right way. So front towards the mini duos And I'm going to pull tight, making sure that all of the triangles in the back lay down nicely and everything is nice and even. Naturally, I'm going to pass through all of those beads again to tighten it all up. Now, a pro tip, if the back of your work doesn't really want to get together, if you're pulling and it's still all loose or you can see the thread, one thing you can do is go to the front, take your needle and kind of pinch the demi rounds that are between the sets of 3 mini duos kind of down. So you want these little triangles here. This actually makes the entire front part of the bezel a little bit flatter, and then it's easier in the back to tie it together. Another way that you can achieve this is going to be a little bit more loose and wide the bezel, but instead of the demi rounds in between the bugles and the 11-0s, you can add another 11-0. So you would just add 11-0, bugle, bugle, 11-0 when you are adding the triangles. In any case, if everything looks okay, I'm going to go to the middle of the sequence that I just added. So through the 2 demi rounds and the 11-0. And I'm going to add 3 demi rounds and just connect to the next middle bead, the next 11-0 in the next sequence. I'm not going to pull it tight yet. Another 3. And you go all the way around, adding 3 demi rounds in between the 11-0s. I'm going to pass through the first 3 demis again. And I'm going to add a single demi round in between the sets of 3 demis. So that's going to be the final row in that final peyote stitch in the back. There, and if your bezel turns out a little bit looser, or if you use the 11-0s in here instead of the demis, this might not be necessary this last row, but if you did it, you want to pass through all of the beads again to secure it. Alright, now I can step down through the beads, follow the thread towards the outer layer, outer row of my bezel. So I'm just passing through the 11-0, the demis, the 11-0, then the bugle, the demi in here, through the 11-0, then the bugle in the second row of bugles that I added, and the 11-0 that was in the original row, the original circle that I made in the beginning. And now we can add some embellishments on the sides, and it looks perfect in the crown of faceted rondelles, so that's what I'm gonna do, but I can see that I only have a little bit of thread left, so I'll add that and I'll possibly have to finish my thread. So to the past me, I would say use 3/4 of a wingspan instead of just a half. And this part is super simple. You just pick up a 15-0 demi-round, rondelle demi-round 15-0, and you look for the next 11-0 from this original row. Okay, it might not be as simple because you now have to pass through that 11-0, and it's not that easy at this point. And the beads are going to place themselves like this. Another set, find another 11-0. This one was much easier. And you go all around adding sets of 5 beads. And I'm done with all of my rondelles around the bezel. It looks gorgeous. I finished the thread that I was using, tied it off, wove in the tail. Now I have the first tail that I left, and I'm going to show you how to add a little quick bail if you want to make this into a pendant. But first, let me quickly show you how to connect your bezel, your central element, to the collar. So first up, you want to put your thread through the bead so that it comes out of one of the rondelles. Doesn't matter which one. For the first side that you attach, you're gonna do what I'm about to show you. And then once you're finished with that first side, you're gonna count 1, 2, 3 from the top. And then the fourth one is going to be where you attach your other side from the top. So this is going to be equivalent to this one on this side. And on the bottom, it's going to be exactly the same one. So this is the one that your side is connected to. Then 1, 2, 3 in the fourth one is where you attach the side. And each of the sides is going to be attached to these two rondelles with one free rondelle on the side in the middle. So you're going to use this one and this one to attach. So yeah, let me just basically show you. So my thread is coming out of this rondelle towards the top of my necklace. Here I have one of the finished sides that I prepared before. And this is how I'm going to be attaching it. And I'm going to pick up the top sequence just the same as in the rest of my collar. And that's going to be an 1103 mini duos 11. And I'm gonna go to the side of the collar that I have, and I'm gonna pass down the bugle, 11 bugle. So like this first vertical set of beads. That's it, we're connected. Now we're gonna connect the bottom. And now it's going to look pretty similar to what we did in the bottom of the collar, because it's gonna be 11 6mm fire polish 11. And I'm going to find that third rondelle bead, so connect it to this one and to this one. And I'm going to go up and pull tight. Now I want to go all the way along the edge of my bezel so that I reach this same rondelle that I started with. So I'm just passing through the beads and the rondelle in the middle. And I'm actually going to pass through these beads and down towards the 6mm rondelle, because we still need to add the demi rounds and the 11 at the bottom. This is going to strengthen the connection as well. So again, through the mini duos and the sequence with the bugles. And as you reach the bottom, you pass through the 11, you pick up 10 demi rounds. There's 10. You go back through the 6mm fire polish, pass through 5 of the 10 demi rounds. Make sure you pull tight. Add a single 11, pass through the remaining 5. And back up through the 11 and the rondelle that it's connected to. Now I want to reach that other side again. So once again, I have to make my way through all of those beads along the side. Okay, I reached that top rondelle. Now I just want to connect these mini duos in a nice and aesthetic way. So I'm going to step up the free haul of them. And I could do it by just going through and stepping up, and the thread would be visible on the side. But I don't want to do this, so I'm just going to cheat a little bit. I would have to cheat like this anyway. I'm just going to turn it over because it's easier like this. So my thread is coming out of this rondelle here. And I'm going to pass through some more beads until I reach this next set with the rondelle. And I pass through the rondelle and the 2 beads next to it, so the demi-round and the 15-0. And now I'm going to turn right back by hooking my thread on some thread bridges underneath. I'm going to pass through the loop that's created. It's going to be just like a tiny knot. And I'm going to go right back through the 15-0 and the demi and the rondelle. And see, you're already going back the way you want. And as you can see here, I have the other hole of my mini duos connected to the 15-0 here. So I reach that 15-0 going towards my mini duos. So my thread is coming out of the 15-0 connected to the rondelle that's on top of the rondelle that I'm connecting my collar to, like that. And that's where you connect the mini duos, and you just do it with a single 11-0. So I just pick up an 11-0 and connect the first of the mini duos. This is going to angle itself just right. I add a single 11-0 in between these mini duos. And now the only thing missing, because we're at a connection here between the mini duo and the demi round, and what we did here in the collar is add a single demi round, and I'm going to pass through this middle demi round here. And if I can find the 15-0 behind it, then through the 15-0 as well, there. Just as if I was continuing the top row of my collar. I'm going to make sure that I pull tight, because as you can see, there's some looseness around here still. And I'm going to do the same loop in here as I did when I was making the collar, by going up the 15-0 and the demi round. And I'm going to go down the 15-0 again. Now I can tie a knot, weave in my tail, and the necklace will be ready. Alright, so the necklace is done, but let's not waste this opportunity and turn this sample bezel that I made into a pendant. So my tail thread is coming out of somewhere in here, out of this 11-0, so I'm just going to go up the next sequence of 15-0 demi round in rondelle. And quite simply, that's where I'll add my bail. I'm going to start with a demi round, 2 11-0s, and a demi round. I'm going to pass up through the demi round and the 11-0. And now, why don't we make this bail with bugles? This is a herringbone stitch bail, by the way. So I'm picking up 2 bugles, and I'm going to pass through the 11-0 and the demi round again. Make sure that the bugles are placed like this, next to one another. Through the rondelle bead. And up through the demi round, 11-0 and bugle. This is what we've got. I'm going to add 1 pair of 11-0s. Pass down through the second of the bugles. Up through the bugle and the 11-0. Now I'm going to add several rows of demi rounds, so I just picked 2 demi rounds, down the second of the 11-0s, up through the first of the 11-0s and the first demi. And I'm gonna add maybe 6 more pairs, 7 in total. Alright, I've got 7 pairs of demi rounds added. Now the same sequences as before, only in reverse. So a pair of 11-0s, a pair of bugles, now a pair of 11-0s on the other side, but these ones are not connected at the bottom here. So I pick up an 11-0 and a demi-round, and I go to the back to see how this bail is going to go. So my thread is coming out on the right at this point. So I'm passing through the rondelle from the right. I add a demi-round and an 11-0 again, up through the bugle that is not connected yet. Pull tight, down through the second bugle, the 11-0 and the demi in the bottom. Now I'm gonna make another round through the rondelle here and up through the demi and the 11-0. This is so that I can connect the 11-0s on that side because they are connected in the front. So I want them to be connected in the back as well. So I go down the second 11-0 and the demi round. I'm going to pass through some more of the beads, tie a knot, weave in my tail, and that's gonna be it. And that is the necklace and the pendant made with the supplies from our Opulence Eco Beads collection. I think it turned out wonderful. It drapes really beautifully. If you want to see it worn on me, watch our monthly project recap. I think it's really elegant and shiny and kind of vintage looking, maybe. But also, if you want it to be, it's kind of Halloween-ish because of the purple and the hematite. I really do think it would work very well in some Halloween costumes. Why not? All of the materials that I used will be listed under the first link in the description. Part 1 of this tutorial can be found on our channel. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next one. Bye!